In the rugged lands of northern Mesopotamia, a new power was destined to rise from the dust. The city of Ashur, named for its patron god, was the cradle of the Assyrian civilization. Before they were conquerors, the early Assyrians were master traders, building wealth through extensive trade networks.
But in this harsh land, power was not just in trade, but in the strength of iron. They learned to fight, to defend their caravans, and soon to conquer their neighbors. Under rulers like Shamshi-Adad I, Assyria began its first major expansion, forging an empire. Their disciplined infantry and swift chariots became a formidable force in the ancient Near East. For a time, Assyria controlled a vast territory, a prelude to its future dominance. But this first empire was not to last. Internal strife and external pressures led to its decline. Assyria entered a dark age, becoming a vassal to rival powers like Mitanni and Babylon. But from the ashes of decline, Assyria would rise again, stronger and more ruthless than ever before. The Middle Assyrian Empire began its ascent, re-establishing itself as a major power. Their army was reformed, professionalized, and equipped with the best iron weapons of the age. Rulers like Tiglath-Pileser I led from the front, expanding the empire's borders relentlessly. Assyrian military success was not just about brute force, but also about superior engineering and logistics. They meticulously documented their campaigns and laws, creating a record of their power and administration. The Assyrian army mastered combined arms tactics, with devastatingly effective archery corps. Art served the state, glorifying the king as a mighty hunter and warrior, chosen by the gods. Yet again, the empire faced collapse from invasions and internal weakness, entering another period of struggle.
This decline was merely a pause. The world had not yet seen the true face of Assyrian power. The Neo-Assyrian Empire emerged as the most dominant military machine the world had ever seen. Its professional, standing army was a force of unparalleled discipline and brutality. They pioneered effective cavalry tactics, giving them speed and flexibility previously unknown in warfare.
But Assyria's true genius lay in the art of the siege. No wall could stand against them.
They employed enormous siege towers and iron-headed battering rams to smash through fortifications. If they couldn't go over the walls, Assyrian sappers would go under them, causing them to collapse.
Once a breach was made, the assault was swift, merciless, and final.
Assyria weaponized terror. Surrender was often encouraged through gruesome displays of cruelty. Tales of their atrocities spread, often making cities surrender without a fight. They did not hide their brutality. They carved it in stone for all to see, a permanent warning.
Entire populations were deported and resettled to break resistance and supply labor for the empire.
An efficient network of roads and messengers allowed the king to control his vast and rebellious empire.
The empire was funded by heavy tribute exacted from its vassal states, fueling the war machine. Unlike the Babylonians or Sumerians, Assyrian society was completely militarized. The state existed to wage war.
Their campaigns were holy wars, commanded by their god Ashur, with the king as his earthly representative. Rulers like Ashur-nasirpal II openly boasted of their cruelty, using terror as a state policy. Under Sargon II, the northern kingdom of Israel was conquered and its people exiled. His son, Sennacherib, laid siege to Jerusalem,
a campaign famously recorded in both the Bible and Assyrian annals.
Though he boasted of victory, disaster struck his army, and Jerusalem was miraculously spared.
Sennacherib made Nineveh the empire's capital, transforming it into a city of unparalleled size and grandeur. The empire reached its peak under Ashurbanipal, a paradox of a man, a fierce warrior and a great scholar. He campaigned successfully into Egypt, expanding the empire to its greatest territorial extent. Yet his greatest legacy was not conquest, but the creation of the world's first great library.
Ashurbanipal sent scholars across Mesopotamia to collect and copy all existing knowledge.
This library preserved countless Mesopotamian myths, histories, and scientific texts for future generations.
Beyond war and scholarship, the Assyrian kings created lavish parks and gardens in their capitals. The royal lion hunt was a highly ritualized event, symbolizing the king's power over the forces of chaos. This was the Assyrian paradox, a culture of extreme violence coexisting with high art and profound knowledge. After Ashurbanipal's death, a series of weak rulers and bloody civil wars fatally weakened the empire.
The enemies Assyria had terrorized for centuries saw their chance for revenge.
A coalition of old and new enemies, led by the Babylonians and the Medes, rose against them.
The hated empire now faced a war on multiple fronts. Its own brutal tactics turned against it.
In 612 BC, the grand capital of Nineveh itself was surrounded.
The attackers cleverly used the river itself to undermine the city's defenses.
After a long siege, the walls were breached, and the end came quickly. The great library was put to the torch, a catastrophic loss of knowledge.
The last king of Assyria is said to have died in the flames of his own palace. The city was so thoroughly destroyed that its location was lost to history for over 2,000 years.
The fall of the tyrant empire was met with celebration across the nations it had once terrorized.
A final attempt to regroup failed. The Assyrian Empire was erased from the map.
For centuries, the mighty Assyrian Empire was nothing more than a name in ancient texts.
But in the 19th century, a new generation of explorers began searching for the lost cities.
Near modern-day Mosul, they unearthed the unbelievable, the gates of ancient Nineveh.
They had found the palaces of Sennacherib and Ashurbanipal, frozen in time. And in the rubble of a burnt palace, they found Ashurbanipal's library.
The translation of these tablets revolutionized our understanding of the ancient world and its connection to the Bible.
Today, the legacy of Assyria survives in museums around the world, a testament to its power and artistry. Their military innovations in siege warfare, logistics, and cavalry tactics influenced armies for centuries.
The land of Ashur and Nineveh, now modern Iraq, is a landscape saturated with immense history.
Assyria was an empire built on a foundation of absolute military supremacy and calculated terror.
It was a civilization of profound contradictions, builders and destroyers, scholars and butchers.
Their art was not meant to be beautiful, but to project power and intimidate all who saw it.
For over 300 years, the Neo-Assyrian Empire was the undisputed superpower of its world.
The Assyrian model of a centralized, professional army became a blueprint for future empires.
Its sudden and total collapse serves as a timeless warning about empires built solely on brutality.
Without the library Ashurbanipal built, our knowledge of Mesopotamia's rich history would be vastly poorer. The knowledge Assyria preserved forms a fundamental part of humanity's shared cultural heritage, a legacy of terror and knowledge, of iron and clay. This was the Empire of Assyria.